It's all about gratitude this week on Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Listen in at coachinginthefishbowl.com.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. This is your host, Caryn Fitzgerald, and today we are talking all about gratitude. And my guest with me today is Sandy Weaver Carman. Sandy, are you here with me?
I am. Thank you, Caryn.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And Sandy is an award-winning author, a speaker, a radio personality, and co-host of the Happiness Recipe radio show. She is the CEO of an audio production company and specializes in working with writers, speakers, trainers, and coaches so they can monetize work they've already done. Audiobook, podcast, and online learning course production are just some of the ways she helps her clients create not just a revenue stream, but a revenue river with their existing content. Today, I am so glad you're here to talk with us about gratitude.
Well, it's Thanksgiving weekend, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
And
too.
Gratitude is such an important thing for us to feel every day. I wake up every morning and I think, something wonderful is going to happen to me today. Thank you to the world. I just expect it, and then I remember to say thank you.
That is so important, and for so many of us, I mean, I know I'll include myself in this bucket. I've went through times where I was so frustrated that the concept of gratitude almost irritated me, and I was just so frustrated with things and the way my life was going and all that kind of stuff. And finally, when I realized that, that's not how I want to live and that's not how I choose to live, and making those shifts into gratitude made my life so much better. And so I'm going to ask you something a little bit different.
Okay.
Instead of telling us about, gratitude in terms of tell us all about gratitude, I would love to hear about a time when you were ungrateful.
Oh.
A loaded question. Is that something we might be able to...
Yes, I can tell a story on myself. That is not a problem. When I was a teenager, and this is a story that I share in my book, The Original MBA, Succeed in Business Using Mom's Best Advice, I had a fabulous mom. I actually still have a fabulous dad. I had great parents. I was born into wonderful parents. But when I was a budding teen, humility was not my strong suit. Sometimes maybe not all teenagers go through this, but I certainly did. It was not a pretty picture. Mom and Dad loved to go to garage sales. Every Saturday morning, that was what they did. And for a long time, my brothers and I would go with them. But suddenly, when I got to be about 13, I was far too good to go to garage sales with them. Because the stuff at garage sales was old, and it was used, and it was hideously outdated, and why would anybody give money for anything like that, right?
Uh-huh. I know that.
One Saturday, yeah, exactly. Well, one Saturday they went out with their friends searching for bargains, and these were neighbors that were really good friends that also liked to go garage sailing. And the four of them came home with a trunk full of what they called treasures, and I knew was nothing but a bunch of trash. Mom occasionally found some things that she bought for me, and this was one of those days, this particular Saturday morning. She was so excited and so eager for me to share her excitement over something she had found for me. And when she got my attention and she pulled it out and showed it to me, she looked to me for approval and for the same excitement that she was bubbling over with. And in retrospect, it was perfect. It was a beautiful little gray suit with a flared skirt, a jacket that nipped in at the waist. It had red and white piping that showed off really good tailoring, and it was perfect for my budding little almost teenager body. Instead of being excited with her over it, I sneered and threw, I hate gray, over my shoulder as I flounced out of the room. I was not Daughter of the Year that day.
Oh, wow.
In front of my parents' friends, and to my mother, I totally squashed her excitement over something nice that she had done for me. And I think that day I probably knew that I shouldn't have done that. Kind of the words come out of your mouth and you go, whoa, that probably wasn't the smartest thing I ever did. I actually never saw the suit again. We never talked about it. I thought about it in my mind as the gray suit incident, but we never talked about it. I never saw the suit again. Very rarely did Mom ever bring me clothes home from yard sales again. Guess you can imagine why. I didn't deserve them. Years later, when we were in the kitchen making Christmas cookies and Christmas candy, and I was older and wiser by maybe 10 years, we started talking about things that we had done to each other in the past that we regretted. And Mom and I always had a really close relationship. I mean, the fact that she could love me through that mess that I just told you about tells you what a wonderful person she was. We had a wonderful relationship, and we were making Christmas cookies and candy in the kitchen, and she told me about something that she always felt like she did wrong to me and that she always felt badly about and really, really wished that she could go back and have a do-over on it. And she apologized, and I hadn't even remembered the incident that she was telling me about. To this day, I can't tell you what she apologized for me for that day, but it had been chewing on her for years. And so given that avenue, I took that opportunity to apologize for the gray suit incident, which had been chewing on me for years, and she didn't remember it. So not only am I really, really grateful for a fabulous mother that I had and a fabulous dad that I still have, I am really grateful for their forgiveness when I deserved it and when I needed it and didn't deserve it.
She didn't remember at all?
She did not remember at all. Maybe it was like one of those things where I've never had children myself, but maybe it's like what they say, mothers forget the pain of childbirth because otherwise they wouldn't have a second child. Everybody would be only children. Maybe it was one of those kind of things. Maybe it hurt so bad that she just totally put it out of her mind, but she did not remember it.
See, I only have one kid, and, there's a reason for that. Wow, that's amazing. And you sat there for years. I mean, it sounds like this was something that weighed on you for decades.
For a decade, yes. It did. It bothered me for a long time. I felt like I had really not been very nice to my mom. Well, newsflash, I wasn't. And instead of just chiming in and saying something, it took a conversation while we were making peanut patties. And she started it with the apologies. And I just think it was hilarious that neither one of us remembered the other's incident. Very grateful.
Our minds go into different places in conversation, and we remember things so differently. And for you to have a mother that was just so forgiving, and it sounds like it almost didn't faze her. She looked at it like, you know what, my teenage daughter is having an experience, and I love her and I care about her, and I'm just going to let it go, is what it sounds like it came on her end. Whereas on your side, you did what I would do, which is, oh my gosh, did I really say that? Can I rewind?
Right. No, I think you're right. She was very good at forgiveness. She was amazing at forgiveness. And she was amazing at looking at people and seeing the very best of them and letting the worst of them go. Was I blessed with a mom or what?
You were blessed with an amazing mother.
Yeah. She was great. That's actually why I wrote the book, is because my nieces, her granddaughters, did not get a chance to really know her very well. So I thought, well, I should tell some stories, let them see her wisdom and how kind she was. And then it turned into a little bigger project than that.
That's usually how it works. So tell me, going from some place where you had an experience of being ungrateful, how has that shifted your focus on gratitude and what you do on a daily basis? Are there any specific things that you do for yourself to keep yourself aside? I know you said you get up every morning and you're thankful. Are there any special things? Do you have decorations around your home or journaling or different things that you do for yourself?
What a great question, Caryn. And yes, I start each day with knowing that something wonderful is going to happen to me, being on the lookout for wonderful things, and then when wonderful things happen, and it could be as simple as finding a heads-up penny in the parking lot. That's wonderful. It's a reminder that there are angels looking out over us. I remember to say thank you to those. But I usually end every night with a gratitude journal, and I go through being thankful and writing out my thankfulness about everything that's happened that day, about everything that's wonderful in my life, about everything that I know that's coming in my life, that I know is going to be wonderful. I just write it all out, and that reminds me to stay in a place of gratitude. And when I have to deal with somebody who's not a very nice person, which we all do from time to time, I'm grateful that I don't have to deal with them very often. I just put myself in that place. I'm grateful that I don't have to deal with them very often. Grateful I'm not married to them. Yay!
Exactly. And when people have a cranky attitude, I think of it as, wow, I'm thankful that I don't have that attitude or that mindset.
Exactly. And there were times in my life that I have. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I don't get it right every day. There are plenty of times in my life where I have not gotten it right. The Grace Food incident was just one of them. It is so much better to live thinking about wonderful things and looking for good things in life and just kind of brushing off the things that aren't so positive. It's like, okay, I'll deal with them, but I don't have to focus on them. And just focusing on the positive and being grateful for the good things in life makes life so much better. And I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say that to you, and probably the people who are listening were preaching to the choir, but if these stories just reach one person who lives in lack and reminds them that this is only one life that we have as far as we know. We got one trip on this planet. We may as well enjoy it.
Absolutely. Before we go, I would love for you to share a little bit about your radio show, Happiness Recipe.
Oh, thank you so much. My co-host and I launched it a little over a year ago, and we just looked at the world and we thought, the world can use more happiness. Period, paragraph, we can always use more happiness. No matter how happy we are, a little bit more happiness is always a good thing. So we decided to go on a mission looking for people to share their own personal happiness recipe. And that's basically what makes them happy and how they spread happiness in the world. And we have talked to thought leaders, we've talked to experts, we've talked to PhDs, we've talked to people who are on like the Forbes top 5 list of the best motivational speakers in the world. We've gotten happiness recipes from some amazing people. Their take on happiness, their wit, their wisdom. And then at the end, we don't let them go without talking about an actual recipe. We want to know about the food that makes them happy. And a lot of times what we get is a story about a childhood favorite food, and that brings out a story from their childhood, something wonderful that they remember. So the shows are about half an hour long, and there's a new one each week. We're on the iTunes podcast store, oddly enough, filed under Happiness Recipe, or happinessrecipe.net, as you mentioned earlier, is where the show lives. Thank
Happiness
you.
Recipe. So super excited. Thank you, Sandy, so much for being here with me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you missed any of this, it will be replayed on our website. And today we were speaking about gratitude. My guest is Sandy Weaver Carman, and she is an absolutely amazing woman, author, speaker, radio personality, and you can hear her on the Happiness Recipe radio show every week. Thank you so much for being with us. And again, you were listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn, and we'll be right back.
Dreaming of turning your book into an audiobook? Make it happen. More and more people are discovering the joy of audiobooks. They should be discovering you. Our professional personal service gives you just the audio product you've dreamed of. Check us out, voiceworkondemand.com.
Are you looking for quality entertainment and activities for the entire family? Then come on down to the Plaza Theater Company and Plaza Academy Dance Studio, located in Cleburne, Texas. The Plaza Theater Company is an award-winning community theater that presents 10 productions a year, performing every single weekend. If you have a child that enjoys acting, dancing, or singing, then you can enroll them in the Plaza Academy Dance Studio. For more information, visit plaza-theater.com or call 817-202-0600.
Need a little more happiness in your life? Here you go. The Happiness Recipe Podcast to the rescue. Listen each week as June Klein and Sandy Weaver Carman share wit, wisdom, and wonderful food with their guests. Guaranteed to add happiness to your life. happinessrecipe.net.
Now back to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Hello there. You are listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn, and we are talking all about gratitude. Today, my guest is Dawn Westmoreland, and she is a breakthrough agent on a mission to empower women to live happier and more empowered lives. Dawn has been featured on over 17 radio and magazine interviews. Most recently, the Christian Science Monitor featured her about her bravery for exposing the Veterans Affairs for prohibited personnel actions. Dawn established her nonprofit, the Foundation of Respect, which aims to help men and women who are being bullied in the workplace or who need to recover from workplace bullying. Dawn enjoys being a life coach and a hypnotherapist who is known for her gentle but powerful sessions with clients. Dawn, are you here with me?
I am, Caryn. Glad to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. You and I have had the privilege of chatting about workplace bullying, and oh, wow, your wisdom just amazes me, and I'm so happy that you're here today to talk about gratitude. Wow, where to start? Let's see. You've got so much to share. I would love for you to share about gratitude and the lessons that you've learned through the hard times that you've had, because you've had a lot of ups and downs, and I would love to hear how you found positive out of this and how you're able to take this and make it a gratitude experience.
Sure, Caryn, and thanks for this opportunity. Well, one thing I have learned as a life coach is that many life coaches have become a life coach after they've gone through very challenging times. And I've met a lot of them that have told me different interesting stories. So I have a couple of stories I'd like to share about my gratitude and the lessons that I learned through my hard times. So the first one is about growing up as a child. And I grew up as a child with a grandmother that was very stern, very formal. And she had earned her college degree, her PhD, starting at the age of 49. Now, that's 1 year before, I'm 50 years old, and it was just amazing. But she had a formality and a coldness to her, and at the time I did not realize that was because she had grown up in an orphanage, and, that was just how she was. She gave us very tough love. So she would come to our house, and she would interview each of us children. We'd have these IQ tests.
Oh.
And because she had she was a child psychologist. So she would give us these IQ tests, and I was really, really shy, very introverted, and very intimidated by these tests. So my brother had a genius IQ, and each of our family members had one male on each my mother's side that had the genius IQ. So my grandmother would sit there and always talk about how smart my brother was. And then when I told her I'd like to be a teacher like she was, at one time she was a teacher, my grandmother gave me really tough love about that. She didn't think I could do that. So at the age of 7, I bought into the non-serving belief that I was not smart. And it really carried on. Yeah, it really carried on into my life. And as I got older and I decided I wanted to go to college, I ended up earning 4 degrees. 4 degrees just to impress my dead grandmother.
So did they call you a little overachiever there?
Yeah, you could call me anything. But yeah, I had this idea that if I got a college degree that I would be all of a sudden smart and I would be able to prove how worthy I was. At the time, I didn't realize I was, trying to overachieve to impress my dead grandmother. It was so ingrained in me that I wasn't smart. And the first time when I earned, a bachelor's degree, I earned it, and I have to tell you, Caryn, I didn't feel all that smart. So I went ahead started earning a second degree and a third and a graduate degree. And then I finally really got the gift. The reality hit me that I was trying to impress my dead grandmother. And at the age of 7, there was no way that I could realize that my grandmother was really trying to set me up for success. She just had this really tough way about her that really, it really pushed you. And so I give her a lot of credit because all of my life I've always been an overachiever, trying to impress, people or just trying to, be highly successful. And that's not always been good because sometimes overachievers are very insecure. And I have to admit, I was very insecure. And I had to learn that, I really am a smart person. And I also had to learn that, I had to learn about self-love and self-respect. So she really pushed me. My grandmother really pushed me, and gave me some very good lessons. And I have to say that I'm really, really, truly grateful for her strength and her drive because it really inspired me to reach the higher goals in my life. And she was a tough lady. I mean, she worked 3 jobs during the Depression, and so she had very high expectations for me. so I'm really glad that my grandmother gave me that tough love because it really helped me to be, an achiever. And then also, my second story is about my VA whistleblowing. I worked in the Veteran Affairs for 5 years, and let me also say that I'm retired from the Air Force. And when I became a whistleblower, I was talking about pressing charges against nepotism and family hiring and friends and such. And then I ended up being bullied for a couple years. And so while it was not a very good time in my life, I have to say I got a lot out of it, and I'm very grateful for the experience. And someone listening in may say, well, why would you be grateful that you were bullied or harassed? It wasn't fun. I mean, it was a lot of harassment, stalking. My phone was being monitored. I was being denied my medical rights and such. And, I say that I really got a lot out of it because after so much stress and harassment at work, I ended up passing out and being ambulanced to the Veteran Affairs Medical Hospital, and I ended up in the mental health ward. And it wasn't fun, but I have to say on the third day, it's like, this insight. I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I realized that the biggest bully really was myself. And, yes, I'd been treated miserably. I was treated very unfairly, and we did settle early in March of this year, 2 days before my hearing. But the thing is that sometimes you have to be made uncomfortable so that you take action that really serves you. My belief was at the time was that I had the victim mentality. I had this feeling that I, was a total victim. Every time I would report something, my management would come after me, and they would make my life, pretty uncomfortable. But it was that third day in the mental health ward that, I really started reflecting on my life, and I really realized that the biggest bully in my entire life was me, because all this time I've been living small, thinking small, acting like a victim, and not realizing that every single thing in my life happened for a reason. Because growing up as a shy person, I was a target for bullies, and I had to learn to be able to stand on my feet, and I did. I learned how to be tougher in a good way. I'm talking about mentally tougher, And when I had no money coming in from the Veteran Affairs because I refused to go back to work after being in the mental health ward, I lost a lot of my income, and I really at that time really felt like a victim. But the gift in that is that I learned how to cook, and I'm not much of a cook. I mean, it's just me. And so I had to learn how to be creative with a whole lot less money. And I just learned to be tougher and more vigilant. And, it was almost a year before I had my hearing date coming up. So I had to do a year of being stronger, being confident, and just knowing that the outcome was going to be good. And it was. And sometimes we wonder, why did this happen in our life? Why was I mistreated? Why was I disrespected? But, the bottom line is that we attract to us where we are in our life. Like people attract like people. And when I was a victim, I really attracted that kind of mentality from other people. And then once I really developed my mental muscles, that is when I started attracting all the great people in my life. And here I am today talking to you, Caryn.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So, yeah, everything aligns up. So I find the more that we are grateful for things, the more comes in our life. And then once I did settle with the Veteran Affairs after the whistleblowing and the retaliation, I did receive some money, and which I'm not allowed to discuss as a part of the settlement. But today I am able to walk out and talk and interview with other people about my story. And I love talking about my story, not because I like to be the center of attention, but I like to let others know that sometimes the biggest bullies are ourselves when we think and act small. And I like to get out there and share that other people can get through hard times and dark times, and we're much, much stronger than we really realize. I thought I could never get through all of that. It was a very rough time in my life. I was going through a lot of bullying, and I was trying to sell a house I couldn't afford anymore. And I remember my house flooding twice
Oh my
in
goodness.
18 months. Yes, and some of my friends who I thought were my friends were, they abandoned me, you know. But when I look back at it, so many good things happened out of it. You know, I sold the house. I achieved everything I wanted to. The people that really walked out of my life were not my friends. And now, you know, I'm surrounded by wonderful people, wonderful, you know, events. I'm invited to talk and interview, and life is just so much different today.
Wow, that is just amazing. And I've heard you and I have chatted about your story related to the Veterans Affairs. I'm just in awe of all that you are creating and the way you help other people. I am so grateful that you came here today, Dawn, to share gratitudes and the lessons you've learned through these hard times. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Dawn Westmoreland, and she is the founder of the Foundation of Respect, which is a nonprofit which empowers men and women who are being bullied in the workplace or who need to recover from workplace bullying. And all of Dawn's information is on our website. You can also look up the foundationofrespect.com and connect with her there. So, Dawn, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Caryn, it's always awesome to talk with you.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn, and thank you so much.
You've been listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next time for more Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Until then, visit us at coachinginthefishbowl.com.